It's Transformers96 here with another video review. This time it is another countdown for Marvel Legends. It's a countdown of my my least favorite to my favorite figure in the Warlock Build-A-Figure series, the X-Men Wave 2. So there were 7 figures in this wave. I did buy them all. You only needed 6 to build Warlock, and Logan was the 7th figure. I was quite excited for this wave. Had a really interesting Build-A-Figure and some interesting characters. And now that I have them, let's rank them. Again, like I always say though, this is not necessarily what I'm saying is the worst to best figure. It's what I'm saying is my least favorite to my favorite. So absolutely, how much fun I had with these figures is definitely taken into to account. So let's get started. In last place we have Sunfire. Sunfire is actually a pretty decent figure, but he is still in last place because I think that this wave is just really good in general, so even the worst figure of it, in my opinion, is still quite a good figure. I do like this figure. I think that I love the mask. I think it looks very cool. I like some of the fire decals on it, and his fire accessories are very nice, as well as, I love myself a butterfly joint on Marvel Legends figures. That always helps. However, the proportions on this guy are really strange in some areas. I think that his torso is really bad. It's super wide and flat, which is just odd, and it's just a very strange torso. Although I love the butterfly joint, I really hope that they don't use this torso again. But even though this is disappointing as far as proportions go, overall it's a really good figure. In 6th place we have Shatterstar. This is quite a neat figure because I believe that the majority of it is new. I can't find a lot of these pieces on other figures, so I think that's quite nice. I like the head sculpt a lot. I love the ponytail and the hair at the top. I think it's sculpted really nicely, and it's pretty unique because of that. I will say I didn't have terribly fun with this figure. I don't know, when I got it, I kind of posed him for a little bit just to take like 2 pictures, and then kind of put him on the shelf, and I haven't taken him off since this video actually. So although I do recognize it's a decent figure, I personally didn't have much fun with it. In 5th place, we have Cyclops, which I would imagine is probably disturbing a lot of you. I know that this is arguably the most popular figure of the wave, and from the character's perspective, I love it. He's a main member of the X-Men, and they chose to do him in his classic Jim Lee 90s costume, which I think is great. So I love those aspects of this figure. However, what I don't like is the execution. The execution is very bland. They used a pretty plain body, which, fits the character, so that's not a big issue. But then they just glued on the straps all over him, which are very loose. They fall down constantly. The belt doesn't really click into place, and then when you twist his waist, it would pop back out. And then they completely missed the mark with this guy's powers. I hate it when they give you a figure but don't give you any accessories to express his powers. And he's completely lacking a laser blast or an extra head where he's kind of yelling with a laser blast. This could be an incredible figure, and instead they just kind of did it in a lazy way, which is definitely a shame. So from a character perspective, I love it, but from a figure perspective, I think it's completely lacking. And had this not been such a good character, this would easily be the last one on the list, in my opinion. Next up, we have Polaris. This is a figure that I really like, actually. I think that this one is definitely not getting as much love. I believe this is probably the least popular of the wave, if I'm not mistaken. But I really like this look in general. I think that the costume is just great. I think that's one of the reasons that I really love this figure. This is a really nice costume. I love the hair sculpt too. I think it's fantastic. And I love the colors, the mixtures of different shades of green. I think looks great. And I'm a big fan of those expressive hand sculpts. I think that she's just really fun to pose with her accessories, and I definitely like this figure quite a lot. In 3rd place, we have the Dazzler. This is a really unique character as well as figure. The figure is a lot of new pieces. The upper torso and head are completely new sculpt, and then the legs from the thighs down are a completely new sculpt, and I believe the rest is reused, but for the most part, she's a new sculpt, which I absolutely love. It's obviously extremely unique to get a figure on rollerblades. I think that's very cool. I love her kind of disco necklace, and just her whole style is very cool and very unique, and I really enjoyed the figure. And then the character being so kind of bizarre is really fun as well. So I did really like this figure. In 2nd place, we have Colossus. This is definitely a very colossal figure. Obviously, fairly suited. I think that he looks quite nice, very bulky, and I do love the fact that he is a new sculpt, which, you know, I really wasn't expecting him to be as big as he was. So I'm definitely very happy about that. I also love the fact that he comes with an extra head. I think it's unnecessary, but since they did it, I think that that's just great. You know, nobody would have complained if they didn't, but they did, so that I definitely give them marks for that. Definitely a very nice figure. Lacking as far as costume choice, I really would have loved a 90s costume Jim Lee Colossus. Unfortunately, they went with a little bit more of a modern interpretation, which, you know, looks nice, but certainly not as good as it could have been. They could have, they really kind of like messed Colossus and Cyclops up in this wave for two different reasons. They failed in Cyclops's figure design, but they succeeded in the costume choice. With Colossus, they failed in the costume choice, but they succeeded in the figure design. Very funny, but you know, these two figures could have been really fantastic had they nailed the costume design as well as the figure design. But overall, even with this not being my favorite costume, it's still an excellent figure, definitely deserving that second place. And in first place, I have to give it to Logan. Logan was a figure that I was really looking forward to, especially since it was coinciding with the film's release, and the film was so fantastic that to not have merchandise from it was super disappointing. So to have this at least was really nice and allowed me to pose and kind of scratch my Logan itch for the movie, so I was able to have fun with this figure. And the figure itself is very nice as well. It's a completely new sculpt, which I absolutely love, and it's really well executed. I definitely like this figure quite a lot. I probably wouldn't have expected to like it the most in this wave. However, it definitely surprised me and was definitely my favorite in the wave. So overall, I think this is a really enjoyable wave. It was a wave that I was interested in, but not super excited for, to be quite honest. I think that the thing that I have always loved as a kid and even to this day is villains. I love villains, especially, you know, in the superhero genre, villains are definitely very important to me. And this wave really lacks villains. I don't think there's a single villain in this wave, like, at all. So I think that kind of bummed me out a bit and attributed to my lack of enthusiasm for this wave. However, the figures themselves really built up that enthusiasm because this was a super solid wave as far as figures are concerned, and then with their just interesting character designs and looks and a lot of newly sculpted pieces. I mean, Shatterstar, Colossus, Dazzler, and Logan here used almost all new pieces, which is very impressive for a wave, and then the Build-A-Figure on top of that is completely new as well. So there's very little reusing in this wave, which I really like, and that is something that's quite unique for Marvel Legends. So I really enjoyed this wave, although I would have loved some villains and some more like iconic X-Men characters. We have a few here, but most of these are somewhat obscure. You know, I would have liked a few more kind of mainstream X-Men characters, considering the first wave was so jam-packed with them. However, I do really love the figures in this wave, and it turned out to be better than I expected. This is definitely a surprisingly good wave for me, and I really enjoyed all of these figures to some degree. Like I said, even my least favorite figure of this countdown, I still really enjoyed. So this is a solid wave. I absolutely loved it, even though I didn't necessarily expect to. So let me know what you guys think of my countdown. I'd love to hear what your countdowns would be, and thanks so much for watching.